What if Obama and Trump ran against each other in 2028? Hello everybody, welcome to Politics Enhanced. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. And today folks, we're going to talk about a hypothetical situation between Donald Trump and Barack Obama. What would happen if they ran in 2028? Now before people comment down below that this isn't going to happen, I'm fully aware that both men are term limited. But we're going to take a look and see who would perform better in the 2028 election if both men could run for a third term. I also thought today that we would start a new tradition on this channel where we're going to have a meme of the day. So let's see the meme. But anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. So without further ado, folks, let's get started. And today we're going to start with the safe Republican states. These are the states that would vote for Donald Trump no matter what. If you nuke them, they would vote for Trump. You have the great state of Texas, most of the deep south, Florida, and Indiana, West Virginia, Alaska. And that is it, in my opinion, for the safe Republican states. I don't see how Trump could win Ohio and Iowa by over 10 points. And the reason why I say that is I do believe that Obama is a stronger candidate for the Rust Belt. He definitely is a better candidate than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But we're going to fill in the safe Democrat states for Barack Obama. And yes, Colorado, Hawaii, all of the eastern seaboard with the exception of New Hampshire, New York, Illinois, Maine's 1st congressional district, and that is it for the safe Democrat states. Now, obviously, looking at the map, there's quite a lot to be filled in here, and both Trump and Obama pretty much have an even number of safe electoral votes. But when looking at this map, I think it's important to note that Obama has a lot of strengths that Biden and Harris didn't have. And I think the first strength is that Obama has very strong connections to the African American community. And I do believe that if he was running against Trump, he could absolutely get the African American vote to really come out in droves for the Democrats, not only for Obama, but also down ballot in a way that I don't think Trump would be able to do. I do think that Trump has a certain strength with the Hispanic community as they've been shifting away from the Democrats for the past decade or so, which is why I do believe that Donald Trump would be a stronger candidate for the Sun Belt, but Obama would be a better candidate for the Rust Belt. And we'll delve into that later in this video. Now we're going to fill in the likely states, which there are only going to be a few, but we'll start with Iowa and Ohio. And the reason why I say this is when Donald Trump lost in 2020, he won Ohio by 8 and Iowa by 8.2. If you go back to 2016, he won these two states by the same margin, except Iowa was a bigger win. But in 2024, Trump won Ohio by 11 and he won Iowa by 13. So it seems that there is a shift and there are a considerable amount of swing voters in these two states. I'm not saying that Iowa and Ohio would ever vote Democrat. I think Democrats are locked out of those states for decades to come. But what I am saying is I do think that there would be a slightly leftward shift for Barack Obama against Donald Trump. And the reason why I say this is if you go back to 2008, won Iowa by 10 points. He won Ohio by 4.6%, which is a monstrous margin, especially for that time period when Ohio was considered the pinnacle swing state. If you go to 2012, it's a similar story. He won Ohio by 3. He won Iowa by 5.6. And we all know what happened in 2016 when those states flipped Republican. And you could argue that there was a rightward shift and that era is behind us. And I agree, but Ohio and Iowa would trend probably a couple points to the left. Maybe I'll put Iowa as safe because I think Trump is a stronger candidate in the state of Iowa, but I don't think so in the state of Ohio. I also think that Maine's 2nd congressional district would also be a likely Republican state. There's a lot of rural white voters in the state of Maine, especially in northern Maine, and I think that would help Donald Trump win that single electoral vote. As for the likely Democrat states, there are going to be quite a few. And we're going to move west to east in this map. And first and foremost, we're going to start with the state of New Mexico because Obama did very good. He has a strong coalition in the state of New Mexico. If we go back to the map, we can see in 2008, he won New Mexico by 15 points. And in 2012, he won it by 10. Now, I'm not saying that Obama would win by those margins in 2028. We're much more divided. The country's a whole lot different. What I am saying is Obama could improve on Joe Biden or Kamala Harris's margins. And I think he would probably win it by about 8 points, which is a pretty comfortable margin for Obama. I also think the state of Minnesota would be a likely Democrat state. You do have the Twin Cities, which strongly supported Obama back in 2008 and 2012. And while Minnesota is a Rust Belt state, I do see Barack Obama pulling off a victory in the state of Minnesota, probably winning it anywhere from 8 to 10 points. And this is solely because of the Twin Cities. And you also have a lot of unions in the state, and I think that Obama does better with unions than Trump did. But that is changing, and in the next few years, it could be a different story. But as of right now, Obama would be favored because of the unions in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota. Next, we'll move on to the state of New Hampshire. I do think that Obama would do very good in the state of New Hampshire, as he is not the incumbent, and typically New Hampshire hates incumbents. We saw this in 2024 where it almost voted for Trump. In 2016, the same deal. It almost voted for Trump, but in 2020, it strongly voted for Biden. In 2008, strongly voted for Obama, and in 2012, it was one of his worst performing states. So this time around, I see Obama winning the state of New Hampshire by 6 to 7 points, a comfortable likely margin for Barack Obama. Next, I also think the state of Virginia would be a likely state. I know Biden won it in 2020 by 10 points. Trump came closer to winning the state of Virginia in 2024, but he was about 5% away from winning the state. However, I think Obama would do better than Harris in the state of Virginia because of the fact that Virginia is a very establishmentarian state. Obama was well liked. He actually flipped it, and it's part of Obama's coalition. So I think Virginia would continue to vote Democrat, especially for Barack Obama. He's more popular there than Harris. Besides Virginia, I also think that Nebraska's 2nd congressional district would also be likely for Obama. The Democrats have done very good in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, and it's a pretty easy electoral vote for the Democrats, so I don't see why Obama would have any trouble doing good enough to win by a likely margin. And now we are left with the true battleground states, in my opinion, that would decide the election between Obama and Trump. And we're going to start with the lean states. We're going to go west to east. So with regards to the lean states, I think Trump would win Arizona by about 4%. Obama was not liked in the state of Arizona, and I do think that that more traditional Republican coalition would come out and support Trump. He won it back in 2024 by almost 6%, which is a pretty sizable margin. I do think that Donald Trump is a stronger candidate in the Sun Belt than Barack Obama, but in Arizona, I think Trump would pick up those 11 electoral votes easily, and it wouldn't really be a competition between Trump and Obama. But for Maine at large, it would be a different story. I think Obama would win Maine at large by almost 5%. Maine was a state that voted for Obama heavily in 2008 and 2012, but the margin shifted over time. I think now, because we're so politically divided, that it would be closer than in years past, but Obama would still hold on to Maine at large. And now we are left with the tilt states, the states that will be decided by 2% or less, and we're going to start with the great state of Nevada and make our way over to Pennsylvania. So with the state of Nevada, Donald Trump did flip the state of Nevada in 2024, but he lost it in 2016, in 2020, and Obama won it in 2008 and 2012. Actually, Obama did very good. He won Nevada by 13 points. In 2012, he won it by 7, and then the Democrats after that won it by 2.5%. This time around, though, I do think Obama would barely win the state of Nevada against Donald Trump. I think it would be less than 1%, probably 0.5%, because you do have a lot of union voters and service-oriented individuals in the city of Las Vegas who do like Donald Trump, but you also have Obama's traditional coalition, so I think they would probably split pretty even for Obama and Trump, and it would really be a true toss-up in the state of Nevada. But I do think that Obama would barely hold on to Nevada, but this could really go either way, and you could just as easily give it to Donald Trump, those 6 electoral votes, which obviously would help him get closer to 270, but I think Obama would be able to do slightly better with turnout. You do have to remember that candidates who are not in the spotlight are typically more popular than incumbent candidates, so I do think Trump would be at a disadvantage being the incumbent candidate. He would be on defense, Obama would be on offense, and I do think that he would be able to win in the state of Nevada. As for the Rust Belt states, these are very hard to predict because Obama does have a strong Rust Belt appeal. Like I've said many times, he has a strong union appeal, but Donald Trump also has a very interesting, strong Rust Belt appeal too, kind of like how Ronald Reagan did, and they called the Democrats who voted for him Reagan Democrats. There is such a phenomenon as the Obama-Trump voter, and when you look at a state like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all these states have Obama-Trump voters. So these would really be extremely close in my opinion. I don't know if there's really any way we could actually determine a winner. I think it would all come down to who's more popular, who's more likable, what the enthusiasm is in these Rust Belt states. I think Obama would probably be most likely to win the state of Michigan, and I think it would be by less than 1%, just because you do have the Detroit metro area, and that would inspire a lot of African Americans to come out and vote for Barack Obama. So out of the Rust Belt trio, I do think Michigan would most likely go for Barack Obama, although it would be much closer than in years past. It would be one of the closest states in the election cycle. I'm going to leave Wisconsin and Pennsylvania blank for now, and we're going to go down to North Carolina and Georgia, because these two states are interesting. Biden won Georgia back in 2020. First time a Democrat has won it since the 1990s. Obama won North Carolina back in 2008 by the skin of his teeth, and he won the popular vote nationwide by over 7 points. So with North Carolina, that is a state that always seems to slip out of the Democrat hands, and I think Obama winning the state of North Carolina back in 2008 really was just a fluke, and I think he was just really lucky. It was a great night for the Democrats. So I'm going to give North Carolina to Trump, but I think it would be a 2% win for Donald Trump. I do think it would be closer because Obama would probably be able to get better turnout than Biden or Harris. As for the state of Georgia, I'm going to argue the same thing as well. Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris in the state of Georgia. I don't see how Obama could really win it. Even in 2008, Obama did not do good in the state of Georgia, or in 2012 for that matter, as it voted for the Republican candidates by over 5%, although we do know that Georgia is becoming more competitive and more of a purple state. But in this scenario, I do think Trump would win it. He does have that Sun Belt appeal, and I think he does better in the South than Obama did. I also see this being a 2% win for Trump, similar to 2024. And now we are left with the final two states, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and these states would decide the 2028 election between Donald Trump and Barack Obama. And we're going to start with the state of Wisconsin and its 10 electoral votes. So with regards to the state of Wisconsin, I think it's very important to note that this is a state that usually votes Democrat. In fact, it voted Democrat from 1984 to 2016 until Donald Trump came along. The reason why Wisconsin voted Democrat in all those years is because of the fact that there is a large group of white working class voters which usually favor Democrats but has now shifted towards favoring the Republicans. And I thought it would be important to look at the counties of Wisconsin from 2008 onwards, because as we can see, Obama won it by a very large margin back in 2008, and most of the state was actually blue. Obama did very good in the western part, the WOW counties of Wisconsin, winning them by over 10 points in most instances. In 2012, Romney comes along and does slightly better, but even still, Obama did good enough to win the state of Wisconsin. Then Donald Trump comes along and he makes the state ruby red, and he didn't win it by a big margin, but he did do very good in these western Wisconsin counties that were critical to Donald Trump's victory in 2016. When Biden came along in 2020, those counties still stayed red, but Biden did better in the Milwaukee area, which propelled him to victory. So when looking at the map, I think it's important to remember that Wisconsin has trended more Republican. That doesn't mean it's a Republican state, but it has shifted in recent years. So is Obama's coalition still there? Well, the answer is yes and no. Wisconsin is still a heavily white working class state, and there are a lot of union members in the state of Wisconsin. However, a lot of these individuals have shifted to the right in recent years. So with this election, depending on how popular Trump and Obama are, I think it would really come down to turnout. You also have to remember that Trump would probably put Obama under the spotlight for being associated with Joe Biden, which would have a negative impact on Obama. So Obama would really have to try to play his cards right. He could win the state of Wisconsin, but as of right now, it's really hard to tell. But I'm going to give it to Donald Trump just because he does have that white working class voter appeal. And I do think ultimately Donald Trump would win the state of Wisconsin by the skin of his teeth. He would win it by less than 0.5%. It would be very close against Obama. Make no mistake, Barack Obama is a strong candidate for the Rust Belt. And as we can see, Donald Trump is already at 272 electoral votes. But let's say he loses Wisconsin, hypothetically. Then the election would be decided by Pennsylvania. And this would be the most crucial state, as it's been the most crucial state in the past 3 presidential elections. So with Pennsylvania, Obama is favored to win, especially because of the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh areas. He could really garner a lot of turnout if he's able to generate enthusiasm and excitement amongst his old voting base. But similar to Wisconsin, if you look at Pennsylvania in 2008, a lot of these counties, the rural counties in particular, were much closer than what they are today. And Pennsylvania has always been redder than Wisconsin, at least in the rural areas. But if you look at 2012, we see that those counties really shifted more Republican. And in 2016, Donald Trump flipped the state of Pennsylvania and he won it by less than 1%, but he flipped all those counties that were traditionally closer or more Democrat and he made them into Republican counties. And then Biden came along and he just shifted the Philly area slightly and took the state back from Trump. And then we know what happened in 2024. So in 2028, I do believe that, again, even though there would be heavy turnout from the cities, the rural areas would come and vote for Trump. And I do think that even though Obama should be favored to win in the state of Pennsylvania, you also have to remember that voter registration is much closer than it was when Obama ran in 2008 and 2012. So for that reason, and the fact that you have a large Amish population, I think the Amish boys would come out and they would save Donald Trump and deliver the state for the Republicans. So all in all, Donald Trump would defeat former President Barack Obama by 291 electoral votes to Obama's 209. 247. And as I said earlier, anything is possible. Obama could very well win the state of Wisconsin, and then Pennsylvania would really be that crucial state that does decide the entire election. But all in all, I think Trump's ceiling would be 291 electoral votes, and I think Obama's ceiling obviously would be winning Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Nevada, but Trump winning the Sun Belt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, comment down below what you think, if you agree or if you disagree with these results. And as always, my friends, I'll see you in the next video. Politics Enhanced out.